What's up, everybody? It's Aaron Duncan here, back again with another Panthers video brought to you by Necessary Bluntness Sports Talk. And on this channel, I give recap and analysis of the NFL, in particular the Carolina Panthers. So if you want to see more videos about the Panthers, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. That way you get notification because I drop videos, do news updates, live streams, and stuff like that. So make sure you are in the loop and you stay subscribed to this channel. But in today's video, we're giving the Panthers news after the Week 6 defeat in overtime to the Minnesota Vikings. There's a couple things that happened during the game and after the game today at the post-game press conferences that I wanted to talk about, and we're going to go ahead and start right now. So the first piece of news comes from some comments from head coach Matt Rhule today after the game, talking about the game plan offensively and Sam Darnold's play. He pretty much alluded, and I'm paraphrasing, that passing the ball 40 times per game is not a recipe for success with Sam. We saw Sam turn the ball over on his first passing attempt in the game, and he just said they're still trying to find their identity without Christian McCaffrey. Now, a lot of fans are upset. They're saying, like, hey, Christian McCaffrey's only played 6 games since you've been here out of the 21 games you coach. Why are you still searching for your identity? And I have to say, last year's a little bit different. This year's different again. For better or for worse, they decided to move on from Teddy. But last year, even without Christian McCaffrey, we were productive under Joe Brady's offense. We had Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore, Mike Davis, and Robbie Anderson, all 4 go over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. That was production. The only drawback last season was the red zone woes. However, Curtis Samuel, who was a running back in college for the most part, was able to have versatility to make up for some of those carries that Christian McCaffrey left on the table when he was injured. Curtis Samuel's not walking through that door. He's now playing for the Washington football team. Mike Davis is in Atlanta, and Teddy Bridgewater is in Denver. This is a whole different scheme, new different team, new different weaknesses on the quarterback position. So it's not as easy as fans want to say about, hey, figure it out. I think last year they did a good job of figuring it out. It's just the red zone. This year, they've actually been way better in the red zone. They're just not good in between the 20s because of the quarterback, Sam Darnold. So it's like almost like we plug one hole and 2 more pop up behind us. So unfortunately, Matt Rhule's right. He wants to get back to his own laurels of his mentality is running the football, being tough, being hard-nosed. But obviously bringing in Joe Brady, his pass-happy offense that showed Joe Burrow from college becoming the #1 overall pick and other first-round picks when it comes to running backs and wide receivers. It's a little bit different clash when it comes to what Matt Rhule is talking about to what Joe Brady's philosophy is. So how will these two mesh going forward? It sounds like he's told Joe Brady that he wants to commit to running the football and that they're going to run the football. Now, without your best player on the offense and Christian McCaffrey, we'll see what happens. I have made videos about Chuba Hubbard's ability, and if he can be the man, you can check that out up above in the cards if you want to, but can Chuba carry that load? Because Matt Rhule says the target number of runs is 33 per game. He wanted to get to 33 against Minnesota. Obviously, when you're behind in different game flow, in different scenarios, it doesn't always work out that way, and we weren't even close this week from a running standpoint. So getting to 33 runs and committing to it is something that I think is maybe a good idea because it takes the ball out of Sam Darnold's hands. And I think that's exactly what Matt Rhule's getting at. It seems like reality has set in that Sam Darnold is not the guy. I don't think in their mind when they made the trade to get rid of Teddy and to bring in Sam that they made it under the premise that they wanted Sam to be the man. I think they had the impression that Christian McCaffrey, for better or for worse, would be there every week to help Sam Darnold be that safety blanket for him so he doesn't make mistakes. I've told you guys before that they try to program in Sam's head instead of forcing something and doing something stupid. Just check it down to your check down guy and Christian McCaffrey, who's the ultimate safety blanket and elite. So this by Matt Rhule is the ultimate indictment, 1, on Sam Darnold, but 2, on how he feels about the team going forward. And he just knows that this defense is good enough, but you can't keep putting them in bad scenarios and expecting them to clean up because they've been getting gashed over these past few weeks, giving up 571 yards to the Minnesota Vikings. Yes, Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings put up 571 yards on 84 plays. That's not a recipe for sustained success, even if you have your full complement of defensive players. Not to mention your first-round pick, J.C. Horn, is out. The guy you traded for, C.J. Henderson, is out. Stephon Gilmore is not playing yet. Your starting safety, Justin Burris, is out. And your lead guy in the middle, Shaq Thompson, is gone too. So you're getting a little bit thin, especially with some of your backup guys on defense also playing special teams. So Matt Rhule understands what he has now in front of him. We'll see how they execute this game plan going forward because it all sounds good on paper, and we know Matt Rhule's the ultimate salesman. We will see how they execute this game plan to run the ball, control the clock a little bit more, and hopefully to limit Sam Darnold's mistakes. So before we get into the next topic, I just want to take a moment to give a shout out to some players that might have been some unsung heroes from the game yesterday. Obviously, C.J. Henderson, he was inactive because of an injury. So Keith Taylor, our 5th-round pick out of Washington, got to start the big physical corner, going against some pretty good receivers in Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. Played a hell of a game. Ended up with 3 pass deflections. They tried him a lot just because they knew he was a rookie, but he really played up to the task. And with guys like Gilmore, Henderson, and J.C. Horn on this roster, along with Dante Jackson, this cornerback room is getting very, very crowded with talent, which is a good thing because you can never have too many guys that can cover, especially in a division with the Bucs where they have Godwin, Brown, Evans, Gronk, Braid, O.J. Howard. The list goes on for the Bucs, especially with Tom Brady. Nevertheless, shout out to Keith Taylor. On the other side of the football, I know he didn't make a ton of plays. It was just one play. But Ian Thomas, I've been hating on Ian Thomas. If you've been subscribed to me for a while, you know that I thought Ian Thomas was going to get cut after I saw that we drafted Tommy Tremble and picked up Dan Arnold. But for a couple weeks in a row, Ian Thomas has made some pretty good catches over the middle. Of course, that game-tying drive, we were backed up on 4th down. He kept the big, long reception down the middle of the field, which really sparked and gave us hope that, hey, we can actually tie this game. And it was an unsung hero. So 2 unsung heroes that really showed up big, even though we lost to the Vikings. Got to give a shout out to Keith Taylor and Ian Thomas. Next thing we're going to talk about is the Panthers Bank of America Stadium experience, because there's been a lot of controversy amongst the fan base about PSL owners selling their home game tickets to opposing fans. For the past few weeks against the Eagles and the Vikings, there have been noticeably more opposing fans than home team fans. A lot of people are mad about why is this happening. A lot of people pointing to it being no more Cam Newton and no more big-time players and Christian McCaffrey. Some people are saying it's the pandemic. Some people are saying that these teams just travel well and this is what it is. There's a lot of finger-pointing. Nevertheless, after the game and behind the field, off the field, there's been a lot of BS going on. Last week versus the Eagles, somebody was caught on tape on TikTok or whatever actually doing the nasty in a bathroom stall. There were 2 Eagles fans and a woman. They were kind of in there. The police were there. Everybody was looking at them and laughing. They locked up. It was funny because the police at least let them finish, nevertheless. But that type of stuff is that what you don't want to see at the stadium. But when you let opposing fans come in, that many, this is when the foolishness starts to happen. And this week, the latest escapade of the Vikings game was a brawl, if you want to call it. And they got caught on tape on Twitter, and it was a little bit weird. It was just some old people getting knocked down left and right. Some people fell down. Somebody was getting beat with one thing. It was worse. It was bad. You know what I'm saying? I thought the Vikings versus Panthers game was hard to watch, but this fight was hard to watch. Nevertheless, there's been a lot of BS going on. And David Tepper seems to be sitting up in his air-controlled, climate-controlled press box and just not giving it that. He doesn't. He seems like he bought this team for a tax write-off and to bring his friends to and brag about paying $2.5 billion. He claims, I guess he has a bunch of money to give away because he paid Matt Rhule a hefty contract for $7 million. He's building all these improvements. He added turf for no reason. Does he even care? Because consecutive weeks at home, there's been some foolishness happening from opposing fans, and a lot of it can be pointed to, obviously, that there's not a great turnout. You have to do things to attract fans to come. You have to put a good product on the field. Just having a cool social media team is not going to do it. It's nice to brag about, but it's not going to put players in the stand, fans in the stands and help the players give an actual home field advantage. If you're being out-attended by the opposing team, you're better off playing your stadium during COVID with nobody there. That way you at least don't have a disadvantage, because even last week when Jalen Hurts scored and hit the Superman, there was nothing but Eagles fans down in the luxury section dapping them up. And that's just, it's just disgusting to see, man. I'm not going to fault anybody for selling their tickets because nobody wants to see this type of team that's looking pretty garbage out here. So I can't really blame anybody for selling off, but the foolishness off the field, like the sexcapades in the bathroom stall and then the fight that happened, it's just stuff that you don't want to see at your home stadium if you're a Bank of America or a Carolina Panthers fan, but it is what it is. Last but not least is the return of Stephon Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore was on the physically unable to perform list, the PUP, whatever you want to call it. So once we traded for him, instead of getting him up off the waivers, we had to wait till at least week 7. Now there's a bunch of players in the league that's coming off that list, but Stephon Gilmore is a notable one for us. Matt Rhule says they'll be bringing him on slowly, so there may be a chance he could play this Sunday, but they're not going to force it. It's going to be a process. He's already had an impact by being around and being the vet and being an all-pro and defensive player of the year, giving tips and insight to a lot of our DBs, which is the residual effect of having a guy like this. But it would be great to get him on the field to get playmaking, a guy that can lock up receivers, a guy that can create more turnovers and get returns for touchdowns and really help round out the secondary. I already talked about Keith Taylor and Dante Jackson in this video, but Stephon Gilmore added him to the lineup along with C.J. Henderson whenever he comes back from injury, and young guys like J.C. Horn, and them just spreading that knowledge. Whether we bring Stephon Gilmore back next year or not, it's going to have a good effect on the long-term prospects of this secondary. We have a lot of talent, but I'll be glad to get Stephon there because, one, he's a hometown product, but two, like I said, that playmaking ability. This defense can use a tick up in adrenaline because they've been taking some lumps these past few weeks, for better or for worse, if you want to blame the offense for putting them in bad scenarios. But having a playmaker on the outside like Stephon Gilmore, especially after getting torched yesterday by Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, will definitely go a long way. So I can't wait for this to add him to Bouye, Henderson, Dante, Keith Taylor. I like the way it sounds. So you guys let me know down below in the comments how you're feeling about the trade that came up with Stephon Gilmore and having him back in the lineup. Matt Rhule's comments about running the football more. Anything we talked about in this video, let me know down below in the comments. We can chop it up and talk about it. But without further ado, I'm Aaron Duncan signing off. I'll see you next time. Peace.